there folks, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could make it. Today's video is just a quick little update video as to what is going on with the prototype smoker from Smokin at Smokers. We've gotten a couple comments and emails asking for an update. Well, today you're going to get that. Now, to be completely honest, I wasn't going to upload today because tomorrow we are premiering Celebrate Sausage Season 4. The entire month of October, we're going to be doing daily uploads. It's going to be absolutely epic. If you're into sausage making or sausage related content, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because you're not going to want to miss a single episode. But I do have an update for Smokin at Smokers prototype unit because I did receive a care package from Smokin at Smokers a little while back. Let me show you what was in that package, what we did, and whether or not we can finally put some meat into this smoker. Let's check it out.
All right, here we go. Super excited about this because I know we have some replacement parts for this smoker. We're basically going to have to create version 2.0. There we go. There's an upgraded heating element. Looking pretty good. A little more power. Definitely a little bit bigger. We've got a Wi-Fi board. Absolutely perfect. We'll just install this onto the control panel. Hopefully that's not too difficult. And then we've got a new duct system and a new fan system. So it looks like the fan placement is definitely higher. Looks like it's right in the center. And the ductwork is definitely bigger. Hopefully it'll make a huge difference. Completely closed system. So it pulls in from the bottom, pushes at the top. That's what at least it's supposed to do. And then, of course, we've got a new back panel. Let me remove the back panel from the smoker currently so that you could see the old setup. Just remove some of this insulation. And there we go. So the old ductwork was more of a channel. Let's put it side by side to the new one so that you can see the difference. Motor-wise, definitely an upgrade. This first one burned out immediately, so we never really got a chance to see how it worked, but you could definitely see the size difference right there. And then, of course, there's the fan style. The fan style is still pretty much the same. Let me show you the new one. The only difference basically is the size. And so we've got a much bigger fan on version 2.0, and hopefully it makes a huge difference. Now it's time to install this new setup, and I called a couple welders to help me out with that. So this new tubing system with the fan is getting welded onto the back of the smoker. At the same time, we are going to be replacing that heating element. So notice we have more surface area for that heating element, so that should heat up a little bit faster. All we did was unscrew the heating element from the back panel, slide it out, put the new one in, and screw it back in place. And so this is what the back panel now looks like. We've got the heating element done. Our ductwork has been welded, and just very quickly, I'm going to put up the fan, plug it in just to make sure that it works before we go through the trouble of opening up a port in the back of the smoker. And it looks like this fan is running, so all we got to do now is cut a little square in that back stainless steel panel so that that fan assembly can poke through. No big deal. And this is what it's going to look like completely finished. I think we are ready to move on to the next step, which is the Wi-Fi. Let's go ahead and open the box and see what we got inside. All right, looks like this is going to be a relatively simple board replacement, and I think the only difference between the previous board and this one is the Wi-Fi chip and the antenna. So I'm just plugging all the cables where they belong, removing the old board, and then replacing it with the new one. Pretty simple, no big deal. Once everything is placed, we just need to go ahead and attach the antenna. We're just going to glue that right to the top. All right, perfect. We'll set this up here in a minute, but for now, let's get this on the smoker and see how the fans work. We've got the power system on, and we're going to click the auxiliary to on. And it looks like we've got fan action, which is a great improvement over version 1.0. I'm loving the way this sounds. Let's go ahead and turn this off. So I'm going to power down auxiliary and just turn the unit off. All right, now I do want to see if we can turn the fan on with the power off. Clicking on, and nothing. Okay, so I think that's something that needs to be fixed. In my opinion, we should be able to power on or off the auxiliary switches without the smoker actually being on. Let's plug in our temperature probes. We've got 3 probes in the unit, a low, a medium, and a high. Let's close it down and start our tests. All right, let's go ahead and power the unit on, and what we're looking for is a flashing blue light that lets me know that the Wi-Fi is ready to sync, and there we go. Absolutely no problem. Super easy to install. Let's press the first 2 buttons down at the same time. Now, if you have a unit at home, you need to resync. You can go through this exact same process. And that light should start blinking kind of quickly. There we go. Now we are ready to go. Let's pull up the app, enter in the password, the Wi-Fi password. Now, this is version 2, Gen 2 of the Wi-Fi system. It works a little different than Gen 1. We are going to go ahead and select the Smokin' It option. And it should sync pretty quick after it's all said and done. Let's see here. Reconnecting. There we go. All right. That's actually fairly easy. Not a problem there to sync your phone to the smoker. Once we get into the app, there it is. Everything looks good. I do want to go into the settings, though, and immediately change my high alarm. We're going to change that to 375. This is way hotter than you should have it. Just FYI, you shouldn't have yours at 375. I just want to be able to crank that temperature up super hot during the test we're going to do here in just a second. All right, everything looks good. Right now, our temperature is set at 225. We are going to set that temperature to 350. Once again, this is way hotter than you should have your smoker, but we are testing the unit. I've got it to run at 350 for 9 hours, so realistically, the other steps and the temperatures and the settings don't really matter to me at this point. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. It says 350. We have it set to 350, so everything is working perfectly. Now what I want to do is turn this off and get it completely cold. I want it room temperature before we begin the next test. And the next test is for me to find out just basically how quickly it gets to the set temperature of 350 degrees. And just remember, 350 is not a typical temperature that you would run your smoker at. So let's turn this smoker off. I want it to get to room temperature before we do the next test. And here we go. Notice the internal temp of the smoker is 74 and we have it set to 350 degrees. We just turned it on. Let's hit start, see how long it takes. All right, it took an hour and 34 minutes, about 10 or 15 minutes faster than version 1.0, which is a slight improvement with that upgraded heating element, but I still think we can get there faster. I am noticing several heat zones. Notice that the smoker is set to 350. The food and the probe 3 temperature all have kind of their own temperature things going on. So you got kind of high, medium, and low inside the smoker itself. So although it's not radical swings, I do think we can tighten that up. Let's see what the convection system itself is doing and if that's causing the problem. All right, let's open up this baby and see what is happening inside. I do got to be careful because this is a little on the hot side. But what we want to do is see what kind of action we've got when it comes to airflow. So I'm just going to tape a piece of toilet paper at the top. And we're going to turn the unit on right quick. Very sophisticated experiment here. Let's cut that fan on. There we go. Okay. All right. Very little air movement. And that may have had something to do with why we didn't get to temp fast enough. That is greatly improved from version 1.0. This is the bottom vent. Let me go ahead and just move this rack back a little bit and see how long it takes to get that pull that we're supposed to be getting from the bottom. So I'm just going to push that rack very slowly towards that air duct. And I've almost got to get right up on top of it before it sucks it in, just like so. Let's look at the top one. And notice that with that bottom vent halfway closed, we actually do increase the airflow at the top, which is very interesting, actually. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about that. I'll share my ideas with you here in just a minute. All right, now some of you were asking for a stress test to see, what kind of weight these racks will hold. Well, guess what? That's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and stick a full baking pan inside this smoker. That ought to give you some indication as to how huge this smoker is. A lot of room in this smoker. This is a bucket with about 50 pounds worth of liquid in it. And so we've got roughly about a 52-pound stress test on one rack. Now, it's highly unlikely that you're going to be putting 50 pounds on a rack, but in the event that you do, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to leave it on there for 4 days to see what happens. I'll get back to you in 4 days. All right, 4 days have passed. Let's take a look at what's going on. 50 pounds of weight on one rack. Rack looks great. Let's just pull it out, take a closer peek at it, put it at eye level. It's not bent or warped in any way. I actually thought it was going to have a little bit of bend to it, but nope. It looks brand new. And just notice that there's no center support on these racks. These are incredibly well built. Nice gauge stainless steel. Let's do another test just to really push it to the limit. All right, so we're going to put that 50-pound weight back on it. And you know what? I think we're going to add 25 more pounds. Right? 75 total pounds of weight on this one rack. Now, granted, the weight is being distributed by that baking sheet, but nonetheless, 75 pounds of weight. It is highly unlikely that you're going to have to put this much weight on one rack, but you know what? It is a test. We're going to leave it on there for 4 days. Be right back. All right, a total of 4 more days have passed. Let's go ahead and remove that weight and that bucket. 75 pounds. So 50 pounds for 4 days, 75 pounds for 4 days. These are all consecutive, no breaks in between, and it looks like that rack is as new as the day we got it. There's no warping, no bending in any of those. What I am noticing, though, is that in this rail, there's a slight bend where that rack was held, which makes sense. I'm surprised it's actually not bigger than that. So as far as the stress test goes, I think this is an absolute success. The racks and the rails are well built and will be able to withstand whatever meat you put on them.
All right, let's recap. For starters, I love the Wi-Fi feature on the controller. It allows you to program the smoker and make small adjustments incredibly easy. You could do it all from your smartphone. And there's just a lot of data that's transferred from the smoker to your phone so that you can check it out, see what's going on during your cook. I love the upgraded heating element. I do feel like it got hotter faster, but that is an enormous box to heat up. And as you saw in the experiment, it really only got to temp about 15 or so minutes faster than the last experiment that we did, which I believe is because the convection system in version 2.0 is not as efficient as it should be. If you remember the convection system in version 1.0, the original prototype, the fan was relatively small and the placement was all the way at the bottom, down by the heating element. Now, as soon as we turned that smoker on and it began to heat up, that fan burnt up and we weren't able to really see its capabilities. Now in version 2.0, the fan was certainly a lot bigger and the placement was in the center of the unit. It worked when we turned it on. It withstood the heat of the smoker, but we didn't really get that pull-push that I was looking for when it came to airflow. And I believe that that particular fan is working against itself, causing a stagnation of air around the middle in the back. If we want a true convection system, I think we need to scrap that fan design and go with something more along the lines of a squirrel cage design, which out of one duct, it is pulling the air, and out of a completely separate duct, it is pushing the air, creating this cyclical motion. And I think once we do that, we will get a true convection and we'll truly be able to see the benefit of that upgraded heating element. As it stands right now, I think that version 2.0 of this prototype is not ready for meat. Unfortunately, there's just not enough airflow to test out the convection system. So it's basically just a regular smoker at this point. Once we change the fan system and we start to get that push-pull and that airflow, I think we'll certainly be able to put some meat in it and see how it cooks. Now, with that being said, once a proper convection system is in place, I think having a variable speed control, which it doesn't have right now, is absolutely mandatory because, you know, I may not want full blast convection every time I put something into the smoker. Sometimes I may want it off, or sometimes I may want it super low, and I think being able to control that should be an option. All right, what else? The wheel situation that we were having in version 1.0 has now been corrected. The wheels were not turning the way that they should. They were sticking almost as if there wasn't enough clearance, but that has since been resolved. And I know that's kind of like one of those small, insignificant issues, but we are testing a prototype so that you don't have any of these problems at home. I did enjoy doing the stress test on this particular unit, and I gotta be honest, I didn't think it was gonna hold up to the 50-pound test, much less the 75-pound test. I mean, those racks are built super solid. I thought within a couple of days of 50 pounds sitting on that rack, we were gonna start to see some buckling, but absolutely not. And then, of course, at 75 pounds, I didn't think it would hold at all, but it most certainly did. The only thing that I saw, and I would be completely blown away if anybody at home were to experience the same situation, because I mean, quite honestly, hardly anybody's ever putting 75 pounds worth of meat per tray and leaving it on there for 4 days at a time. So with that being said, the only thing that I saw when we had 75 pounds of meat on the tray was the guide rails where the rack slides into was starting to bend down just a little bit, but not even enough to loosen the rack. And so the build is absolutely top notch. Now remember, when it comes to testing prototype units, it is our job to find problems with the unit. We are nitpicking the unit to death. We're trying to find areas where the unit can be improved. And in version 2.0, there are certainly some things that I think we could do a little bit better at. Number one is the convection system. I think once we iron that out, everything else will be smooth sailing. Now, just so you know, I've been working on this project with Smokin and Smoker for almost 2 years. I'm just right now starting to release the videos, and I've just been told finally, that version 3.0 is on its way, and you heard me right, 100% of all of the issues that we've had with this smoker have been addressed, and all the issues have been fixed. This smoker will radically change the way you cook and smoke meats. I can't wait to get my hands on one. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget, tomorrow premieres Celebrate Sausage Season 4. Click that subscribe button and that notification bell if you are not already subscribed to this channel. I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.